audiobooks and beyond.
The Keeper in the Walls by Marcus Thorne. I had always found a quiet comfort in my solitude, a predictable rhythm to my days in the old inherited house. The silence was a blanket, soft and familiar. But lately, the silence had begun to tear, and through the rips, I heard it. It started innocently enough, a faint scratching sound behind the walls of my study. At first, I blamed mice, a simple problem for a simple man. I set traps, checked for holes, and even called an exterminator who found nothing but dust and old newspapers. "Must be the wind, sir," he said, and I almost believed him. But the scratching wasn't in the walls, it was the walls. It was a methodical sound, a deliberate scraping of something sharp against wood, always at night, and always from the same spot, just behind the mahogany bookcase. I moved the bookcase, half expecting to find a nest of rodents or a loose pipe. Instead, I found a pristine, unblemished section of plaster. I ran my hand over it, searching for a seam or a crack. Nothing. Yet when I put my ear to the wall, I could hear it, clear as day. It was a scratching, yes, but more than that. It was a sound of immense patience, of someone trying to get my attention. Then, the objects began to appear. A single, smooth river stone, cold to the touch, resting on my pillow. A polished black feather on the surface of my desk. A small, dry twig arranged in the shape of an arrow pointing toward the study wall. Each time I found one, the scratching would stop for a few nights, only to return with a renewed, almost jubilant energy. I started to keep a log, a detailed, meticulous record of every sound, every object, every misplaced shadow I saw out of the corner of my eye. My life became a fortress of routine, a desperate attempt to prove to myself that I was still in control. I would leave the house for hours, walk through town, talk to people, remind myself of what was real. But the moment I turned the key in the front door, the house felt different. It felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for me. My sleep became a fragmented sequence of naps. I'd jolt awake in the middle of the night, convinced I was not alone. The scratching was evolving. It wasn't just a sound now, it was a pattern. Tap, 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 tap. It sounded like a code, a message I was too afraid to decipher. My log became a frantic scribble of theories. Was it a poltergeist? A long-dead relative trying to tell me something? Was it a trick? Was I the trick? The thought became an anchor of terror. What if I was losing my mind? What if I was the source of the scratching, my own subconscious trying to break through the walls of my sanity? I found myself talking to the wall, pleading with it to stop. "Just tell me what you want," I'd whisper. "Just tell me what's wrong with me." The only answer was the tapping, a relentless rhythm of madness. One night, the scratching reached a fever pitch. It was no longer a patient sound. It was a furious, desperate clawing. It moved from the study to the library, then to the stairwell, and then back again, faster and faster, as if a trapped animal was finally losing its mind. My heart was a drum, pounding a counter-rhythm to the noise. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know. I grabbed the heavy sledgehammer I used for splitting firewood and rushed to the study wall. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely lift the hammer. "I'm coming!" I shouted, my voice cracking. "I'm coming for you!" I swung the hammer, and the plaster shattered with a thunderous roar. Dust billowed out, and I swung again and again, tearing through the laths and plaster until I had created a jagged, gaping hole in the wall. The scratching stopped abruptly. The silence that followed was a physical presence, cold and immense. My breath hitched in my chest as I peered into the darkness. There was no monster, no person, no rat. The space was empty, save for a single, small, tarnished brass box wedged between two studs. My hands trembled as I reached inside and pulled it out. Relief, so profound it was dizzying, washed over me. I wasn't insane. It was a trick, a cruel, elaborate prank. This box must hold the secret. It must be a speaker, a timer, a recording. I had found the source. My sanity was intact. I collapsed onto the floor, laughing through my tears. I opened the box. Inside was a single, folded piece of paper, brittle and yellowed with age. I unfolded it carefully, my hands still shaking, and read the note, written in elegant, spidery script. To the latest keeper of this house. If you are reading this, you have passed the test. The scratching, the tapping, the little gifts, all of it was a cruel contraption of my own design, a web of wires and levers that was meant to drive you mad. The madness, however, was not the purpose. The paranoia was the key. You have proven yourself worthy by not giving up. The real purpose of this device was to create a prison for the thing that lives here, a beast that feeds on fear. I built it to keep the keeper in the walls. By destroying the machine, you have set the keeper free. It's too late for me, but not for you. All you have to do now is run, and don't look back. I read the note again, my breath catching in my throat. I looked back at the hole in the wall, the empty space where I expected to find a machine. There was nothing there, just an empty space. But from the darkness, a soft, deliberate tapping began to sound. Not the sound of wood on wood, but something far more horrifying. It was the sound of my own name, tapped out in a pattern of slow, deliberate blows. I stumbled backward, the note falling from my numb fingers. My mind, so recently assured of its own sanity, was now screaming. The scratching, the gifts, the creeping paranoia. It wasn't a trap, it was a key. I had been in a cage, and I had just let myself out. I scrambled to my feet, my legs weak, and ran from the study. I needed to see. I needed proof. I ran to the hallway mirror, my reflection a blur as I got closer. I stopped, my hands gripping the frame, and stared. My face stared back, but it wasn't my face. My eyes were a deep, hollow black, and my mouth was a rictus of a smile, stretched too wide. A long, sharp claw, dripping with a viscous black fluid, was now resting on the mirror's surface, its tip slowly tapping out a name. My name. The same one I had just heard from the walls. My reflection lifted its hand to its mouth, revealing long, sharp teeth. It brought its clawed finger to its lips, a gesture for silence. And as I watched in horrified silence, my reflection, my real face, began to tap on the glass from the other side, begging me to let him out.